Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features the Uncanny X-Men number 202, cover dated February 1986. So this covered by John Romita Jr., featuring prominently two Sentinels who are being attacked by the X-Men and vice versa. And note also now we've got Magneto fighting alongside the X-Men on this cover. So let's open this one up. It's a Secret Wars 2 tie-in. So Secret Wars 2 running through 1985, the sequel to 1984 Secret Wars 1. So this issue will feature the Beyonder. And indeed, when we open to the splash page, we have Rachel there as Phoenix and addressing the X-Men. X-Men, I've gone to kill the Beyonder. Turns out that's the title of this particular issue. Pretty cool art here by John Romita Jr. And note, guest inker Al Williamson. So this is the first pairing of John Romita Jr. and veteran artist and inker Al Williamson. And I really like this combination. This is the team that would go on to pencil and ink Ann Nocenti's run on Daredevil. And also it's John Romita Jr. and Al Williamson who collaborate on Frank Miller's Daredevil Man Without Fear miniseries from 1993 and 1994. So I really like that pairing. I prefer Williamson's inks over Romita Jr. than Dan Green's, and I think that Romita Jr. preferred it too, because if you hear him speak about Al Williamson, he's got absolutely nothing but praise for him. So the creative team here: Chris Claremont, writer; John Romita Jr., penciler; Al Williamson, guest inker; Tom Orzechowski, letterer; Glynis Oliver, colorist; and Ann Nocenti, editor. So let's open this one up, and it turns out that the Rachel we see on the splash page is a hologram recording, and she's sending this message from this hologram projector here to the X-Men that she has decided that the Beyonder is a threat to everything that exists. He has to be stopped, and she figures Phoenix is the one to do it. So Rogue is surprised by this message, and then she goes straight to Storm to let Storm know what's going on, that they've got big trouble. And I like the way that this is rendered here. Al Williamson's line work, I really like it for the floor. I like it for the blinds here, and also rendering the plants and patterns in Storm's attic loft as well. A nice kind of silhouette of her plants here on her back. So Storm obviously sleeps naked. That's what we see here. And so the X-Men get together, and it is Storm is thinking to herself she should have foreseen it. It's her responsibility and blame for allowing this to happen, for Rachel to go off on a solo run against the Beyonder. So Wolverine is pretty sanguine about the whole business. He says his only regret is that he won't be there with her for the kill, as he pops his claws, smoking his cigarette there. But Storm is adamant that they have to find Rachel and stop this mad quest before it's too late. And Nightcrawler asks the question, can Phoenix hurt the Beyonder in any way? Perhaps not, replies Storm, but he might make, or she might make him angry. So then they use Cerebro to try and locate her, and this brings up a little bit of continuity going back to Uncanny X-Men 149 and 150, where, as Wolverine says, the gizmo worked fine in the past till you monkeyed with the Earth's magnetic field to inhibit long-range telepathic communication. So in some sense, Magneto here now acting in place of Professor X, who's away with Lilandra many millions and billions of light years away, is kind of hoist by his own petard, because he's not able to use Cerebro 100% to exactly pinpoint Rachel. But I like this little exchange between Wolverine and Magneto, where Magneto says to Wolverine, "Are you always such an ill-mannered lout?" "Suppose I am," says Wolverine in response. "Want to make something of it? Perhaps in my own way, my own time." So some antagonism here between these two, and a pretty cool character moment. But they zero in on San Francisco as the location for Rachel. And so the X-Men get ready to follow her there. And then we switch to the Beyonder, as it turns out. So his captions here, I'm from beyond. Note the 9-panel grid here. So Romita Jr. probably looking at Watchmen, Alan Moore's Watchmen, around this time, just beginning to come out in 1986, and trying his hand at a 9-panel grid too. And there are quite many similarities between Dr. Manhattan and Beyonder as well. So perhaps Claremont taking a look at those initial issues of Watchmen 2 and responding to them here in his characterization of the Beyonder. So the Beyonder has been thinking and has decided that one of the things he's learned is that those who have a purpose feel good. So in order for me to feel good, he thinks, I must have a purpose. Mine shall be to heal people so that they too shall feel good and their lives will have purpose and they will go forth and achieve their fullest potential to find their true role in the fabric of creation. So he has a plan then for Rachel Phoenix in that regard. So she makes her way to him in San Francisco. He's taking time on Alcatraz, uninhabited, and is in deep thought there. So Rachel arrives for his execution. And look at this rendition of the Phoenix effect right over the Golden Gate Bridge, over San Francisco Bay. Stunning work by Romita Jr. and Al Williamson. So you get this different character of line work, hatching and rendering from Al Williamson. As I said earlier, I much prefer it to Dan Green's inks over Romita Jr. So really nice stuff here. And then the Beyonder addresses her. We've met before, the newborn star and I. So back in X-Men 196 and Secret Wars 2 number 1. And basically Rachel attacks him. But it turns out that her power, even drawing on the Phoenix Force, is nothing to the Beyonder. He's unscathed entirely. And the Beyonder basically says to Rachel, you could as soon destroy the universe. Since my manifestation in your reality, I've striven to understand. Yet all of those I thought could teach me comprehend so little themselves. They perceive pieces, I see the whole. They are apart, I desire unity. So he continues and says, rage consumes you, grief eats away at your soul because you believe you failed those you loved best. Why did they die and you survive? He's referring to Rachel's dystopian future, the dystopian future she's from. For all your power, you could not save them. That guilt, your secret shame, keeps you from achieving the potential and destiny that is your birthright. So what he decides to do is give her a portion of his power, and that allows her the opportunity to slay him if she so wishes. And so we'll see how that pans out. But we also have this scene here where he uses his powers to go into the future where they can observe their flight from the Sentinels. This goes back to Uncanny X-Men 141 and 42. And here we have the Sentinels slaughter of Franklin Richards. And then the aftermath of that, where the X-Men made their last stand. And then we've got Nimrod and also Kate Pride. So all of this references to things going back to 141, 142 and 192. And this is what is eating Rachel up with guilt. That she wasn't able to prevent any of that. So the Beyonder gives her a portion of his power. And what will happen next? So the X-Men are arriving in the Blackbird while Storm is in any case, because Storm can no longer fly. And what happens is that the Beyonder brings Sentinels from the dystopian future that Rachel is from, as she recognizes a Sentinel Amiga series hunter killers. and they've been sent by the Beyonder against Rachel and Storm and the X-Men. And this is his idea to give Rachel a chance to save the X-Men this time around and therefore redeem herself. So in the rest of the issue, what we get is something of a battle royale of the X-Men when they arrive against these Sentinels. But this is a very cool 2-page scene. Great artwork here by Romita Jr. and Al Williamson, rendering the Golden Gate Bridge, the Blackbird, the Sentinel chasing the Blackbird, grabbing hold of it, and then Storm going all the way up into practically into space. And so she is, as she thinks, climbing faster than the space shuttle. The stress on the airframe is far more than it was meant to bear. She's feeling like she's being crushed by the G-forces, but she hangs on in there. So pretty dynamic stuff going on here. And then what happens is that when they're out in space, well beyond the Earth's atmosphere, she retrofires the engines, and the Sentinel is burnt up like like a falling meteor. So that's one Sentinel down. But back in downtown San Francisco, there's yet another Sentinel, and the X-Men have arrived. Magneto is there, and he's been attacked by the Sentinel. Rogue gets involved, but she is knocked into the crowd, and then the crowd, she touches them physically because her costume is shredded, and she begins to absorb their emotions, memories, and personalities, her mutant power, and one of them shouts out to get her. And then Wolverine arrives to frighten them away. And of course he uses his adamantium claws against this particular Sentinel, but he gets knocked down, and then Rachel arrives to intervene because of course what she's worried about is seeing a rerun of what happened in the future. And then she uses her powers to in effect supercharge Wolverine's healing factor. And Wolverine uses his claws to free Magneto. And what happens now is, of course, that they act in unison, and that's the way to take down these Sentinels. So we've got a really cool one of here of the Phoenix Force and this Sentinel silhouetted against the Force, and then Wolverine ripping it to shreds at the feet. So the X-Men working together, including Magneto working with them too, take down the Sentinels. So pretty cool stuff in these pages. Rogue here blasting through this particular Sentinel, and Kitty phasing. We'll see now I think it's a street lamp through the Sentinel. Is that correct? Well, yes, here we've got Colossus grabbing the street lamp, and then yeah, sticking it through the Sentinel there. Oh yeah, and he had no idea you had phased within my body, combining your body with mine. And this basically allows Rachel to perform the coup de grace and run the power of a main electrical line, amplifying it 1,000-fold as it passes through her body into the Sentinel, which destroys it. So in the course of these pages, you've got some pretty inventive ways that the X-Men working together take down these Omega series Sentinels. And basically this is a redemptive arc for Rachel. She manages to do what she couldn't in her future, and then she visits the Beyonder on Alcatraz, and he's convinced that he's helped her. The X-Men are alive and well, Phoenix, thanks to you. Rachel, you saved them. But she's not happy at all, and she slaps him in the face. You gave me the power, you set up the situation, you created the threat. I was little better than a toy, a puppet prancing about for your amusement. And he responds, I sought to restore your inner balance, to expunge your guilt, so that you might become one with yourself, as I hope to become with mine. It isn't that easy. You don't just give somebody that knowledge. If it's meant to mean anything, if we're truly to learn to grow as individuals and a species, it has to be earned. You may mean the best, but all you've done, all I think you'll ever do, is harm. So she's not convinced at all that the Beyonder has mended his ways, or that his new mission to help people find their true purpose and meaning is going to end well. So the caption says the next issue, the final showdown between the X-Men and the Beyonder, with a story entitled Crossroads. So I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on Uncanny X-Men 202, featuring the Beyonder and Rachel Phoenix and the X-Men versus these Sentinels from her dystopian future. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.